Good evening. I'm Reverend Greg Dorst, and you are at Open at the Top at the lake. So if I said open at the top always happens in my living room, then I guess I wouldn't be open at the top, would I? Because I wouldn't be open to new ideas. So we enjoyed being out by the lake, so we said, why not do it? So this is open at the top at the lake. And when we're open at the top, and we signify that by doing this, kind of like a touchdown, when we're open at the top, what we're doing is we're allowing Spirit and its magnificent graces to slip in and take us and give to us everything that we need in order to thrive and survive. So we are open at the top for new ideas. We're open at the top for goodness. We're open at the top for greatness. So today at the lake, I was able to see something I thought was pretty interesting. I was watching over here at this side of the lake, and I saw one of our red-tailed hawks. We have a pair of red-tailed hawks, and this red-tailed hawk was circling that corner for a little while, got about 10 feet of height, and came crashing down in the water, and came back up with a fish about maybe 6 inches long, maybe 8 inches long, and headed on back to its nest. So I'm sure it's got a little baby up there, just in need of a meal. So we have all kinds of wildlife around here, and we just love it. You're likely to see a little bit of it, maybe in the form of Harley, who is our technician tonight, and Jackie, who is our producer. So thank you very much for everything you do, Jackie. This wouldn't happen without you. So tonight, we are going to be talking about sharing the light, which is something I'm really interested in because I believe now more than ever we need to watch out for each other, and watching out for each other typically means sharing. So if you share your light, which is principally who you are, your love, your life, then I think it benefits everybody. But there's some stories I want to talk about, two of them in fact, that I want to be able to link together so that we can see how this might be happening in today's circumstances. So the first one comes from the Bible, and this is out of the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke. There is a parable about the light under the bushel, and I'm sure you're pretty familiar with that particular parable. And Jesus spoke in parables. There was usually a deeper meaning behind every single parable. And so this particular parable is pretty simple, and it starts out with, don't hide your light under a bushel. Put it on a stand for all to see. Now there's a backstory to that. You know, if you were in Jesus' day and he was standing in front of you telling you a parable, you would understand that perfectly, because most likely you lived in a house which was a one-room house, and it was relatively a large room, but it housed more than one family, and you'd have a family in each corner of the room in this particular house. Typically, that's typically how it worked. And you've probably seen some of the ruins of the old Jewish settlements where there were large rooms, particularly on the bottom floor. Anyway, these large rooms had families in each of the corners, and sometimes the families didn't have light. They didn't have oil for a lamp. They didn't have the means to light their corner. And so the idea that a person or a family would take their light and hide it behind a bushel in their corner so that nobody could see it except for themselves was kind of unheard of. I mean, this is about sharing the light with the rest of the people. It's not just a senseless, nonsensical parable. It really has practical, real-world significance. And so if you know the backstory on that, you understand how this might have been something that they could recognize and know was the right thing to do. So it has a deeper meaning too. And of course the deeper meaning is that you are the light, that I am the light, and that our light shines and we shouldn't hide it, which means, you know, don't take everything that you are and, you know, not give it to the rest of the world. Don't take everything that you have and hide it in your bushel and not let it be known or seen or felt or be of service to the rest of the world. So I like that. So share your light. I mean, that's, Jesus said, essentially, share your light so that all the other families can see it and be able to use it in their darkness. And what he meant also was that you are the light, and you can share it, and you can shine. So the second story is a very interesting story, I think, that shows up in a book that was written by a man by the name of Dr. Arnold Fox. And he wrote this book called Beyond Positive Thinking. And this was written some time ago. I think it was written in the late 70s. But Dr. Fox was a physician, and he happened to have a patient, and her name was Sally. And Sally was a Holocaust survivor. Now, this really interested Dr. Fox. It was kind of his hobby to study people who had gone through the Holocaust and to hear their stories and to understand the trials and tribulations they went through. Only Sally was a little bit difficult. Sally had the entire hospital staff feeling ill at ease because she wasn't about ready to take anybody's word for anything. I mean, when a doctor prescribed something for her, she wanted the whole backstory. She wanted to know everything about it. If somebody was going to give her a shot, she wanted to know what was in that syringe. You know, if a nurse was going to do something or change her or make some sort of change in the room, she wanted to know all about it. She wanted to know why and what was really happening. We have a guest. Hope you can see that. Good. So Sally was tough. The other thing that made it tough was she insisted upon having a candle, a lit candle, on the table next to her hospital bed. And although she complained about the hospital bed all the time too, that it was too lumpy and there was something wrong with her accommodations, she was generally a complainer. She would not allow a day to go by without this candle on her table next to her bed. And of course it was against the rules, and the attending physician was certainly upset by it, as well as the rest of the staff, but they considered her to be on her last leg because she had terminal cancer, and they were just kind of trying to comfort her for her last few days. And so they said, make an old lady happy, you know, so they allowed her to have her candle. So one night, Dr. Fox, with his curiosity around Holocaust survivors, sat down in a chair next to her bed and started talking to her about things. And she was talking about how old she was when she was taken to this Nazi concentration camp. She said she was 10 years old when she went to that camp, and she'd been separated from her parents, and she was shoved into this camp with people she didn't know. And she said that it was a kind of experience where not everybody, of course, would survive, but not everybody wanted to survive. Not everybody had the will to live. Not everybody believed they could live through this. And she said you could see those people. You could see it on their faces. You could feel it coming from their pores that they knew that they were going to die and not make it through this experience. She said also, though, there were those people that absolutely knew that they were going to make it through the experience, that they had it. They knew that they could make it through anything. And so there were a couple of older ladies who were in that category of people who tried to teach her the ropes, to show her how to survive at a place like this concentration camp. And she said, I got to tell you, at first, I didn't think I was going to make it. I was one of those that thought I was going to die. But, you know, there was something that one of these old ladies did that just brought me to that point where I developed some hope. And I developed a sense of recognizing that maybe I could make it. She said, this old lady, every morning and every night, made me come into her room where she would go through a ritual. She would take a pretend candle. There was no candle. She would take a pretend candle and she would put it on the table, pretending that it was there. And then she'd pretend to light a light and light that candle. And she said, I watched this lady do this in the morning and in the evening, and it struck me that this imaginary candle had power. And if I imagined it, I could just feel the power of that light coming off of that imaginary candle. And she said, that turned my life around in that concentration camp. An imaginary candle, an imaginary tradition by this lady, lighting the imaginary candle in the morning and then again in the evening. And she said, so ever since I've been out of that concentration camp, and by the way, of course, I made it, I have made sure that I have a lit candle on the table next to me. And that lit candle is to show that there is light in the darkness. There is light in this life, no matter how far down you think your circumstances are. No matter how hopeless your circumstances are, there is light in your situation. And she said, well, you could tell that I may have had the benefit of somebody else's energetic, positive experience, and that I was given this gift of life through this light-giving process, even though it was imaginary. But it's not imaginary anymore, and it's my intention to use this light on my table to beat this cancer. Now that's a will to live. That is an amazing shared light story. So those two stories are a bit different, and they're in different times, but I think that they share the light in ways that are connected, in beautiful ways, even ways that we can connect with today. And when I start thinking about all of the people that don't have jobs and have lost their income and have been placed in a position where they are potentially losing everything and have this incredible fear. They have a fear of financial insecurity. They have a fear of not being able to live in their homes or feed their families. I think, you know what? Both of these stories are absolutely amazing stories for us in this day. When Jesus said, share your light, don't put it under a bushel, he was giving us the idea that we might be able to share what we have to help people and help families through these difficult situations. That we can help them to move through this circumstance, that we can share our resources if we can share our resources, that we can do that to help people get through these difficult times. A guy by the name of Rob Bell, who I think does a pretty good job of lifting the scriptures, has some interesting ideas. And one of the ideas he has about sharing, I want to share with you. When Jesus fed the 5,000 with the loaves and the fishes, he said, that's a miracle. Rob Bell says, that's a miracle, no doubt about it. He said, but you know what? There may be even a greater miracle that actually happened in this circumstance too. And that is that the 5,000 did get fed, but they got fed because everybody shared what they had. And if everybody shared what they had, that'd be a deeper miracle. Something that would bring about life, not just for that day, but the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And I love that idea. So sharing in this day and age is the kind of thing that Jesus was asking us to do, and I think that parable kind of nails that down pretty good. But also, sharing the idea that we can make it through this is the secondary idea I want to give to you. And that's given to us by Dr. Arnold Fox's story. This idea that we can make it is really brought into focus by some of our science of mind traditions. And those science of mind traditions are around an abundance and a way and an ability to make it because we are absolutely protected. We are secure in the idea that the flowers spin and are cared for, and look at the birds and how they are cared for. And we too are cared for. For if God cares for the little ones, God cares for us as well. So I believe that this idea of even the imaginary candle bringing about the will to, I don't know if that shut down the picture for a little while, but somebody called me, and I know who it is, and I will talk to him about that. So this idea that we can share our light is the idea of the day. And so I have a musician back here waiting to give me a tone for a closing prayer, which I think will sound magnificent. Why don't you come a little closer, Jackie? Oh, come on a little closer. Give us a little ting. That is so beautiful. And that allows us to take a nice deep cleansing breath. Take another one. Breathe in for abundance. Breathe out the lack. If we stay together, if we live together as one, we'll make it through anything, absolutely anything. And so right here, right now, I just bring to this moment the idea that we are present right here and right now in this very space in the presence of God. For God is present here. God is present in, around, and through this beautiful lake, through the animals around the lake, through the beautiful air. God is present in, around, and through both Jackie and I, and through our wonderful little Harley there, and even present in, around, and through this service. We know that we are united with this singular source, the power that made everything and the power behind all that is. We cannot be separated from that. We are one with it. And I know that each of our lives are empowered. We are empowered as a result of recognizing and knowing that we are connected, that we are sharing our resources with each other, that we are in love with the rest of humanity, for they are one with us as well. We keep an eye toward those that are particularly in need, and keep an eye out for those that may need our help in circumstances such as this. I know that that occurs. I know that we are kind and compassionate in these difficult times, and I know we absolutely do our best to remain non-judgmental and to pull together as a team. And I use this metaphor all the time, that we're all pulling on the same end of the rope, trying to make absolutely certain that we get where we need to go. And so it's with great thanksgiving that I release these words into the law of mind, knowing that all of this is done, that all of these things that I have set forth and planted the seed for are coming to fruition right here and right now. And so, knowing all of this, I release these words into the law of mind, knowing that they're already done. Please say with me, and so it is.
Amen.
Oh, we got some people. We got Cheryl and Kelly and Cindy and Harold and Bobby and Mallory and Agnes and Pam and Elka and Mary and Monica Gump and Joe McGee. Wow, Joe, you get a star next to your name. I'd love to see you, man. Monica Watson, Jan, Steve Corsaro, Nancy Critchman, Marion, Sue, Jorge and Jeffrey, Annabelle and Joe, Ellen, Virginia, Rebecca, and the entire House of Representatives, along with the Senate. So it's with great thanksgiving that I say to you, thank you for being here. Namaste.